Hey, what's going on, FURSAverance 2021? We're so happy to be here. We hope you guys are having an amazing time here at this wonderful convention. Before we get started, I do just want to give a quick shout out and thank you to the wonderful staff here at FURSAverance 2021 for, first of all, having us here. And second of all,
that may have been a mistake.
For this amazing, what?
Oh, nothing. I won't be a problem.
Okay, and for this amazing convention, we hope you guys are having a great time. And not only that, we are also supporting and donating to a wonderful charity, Awesome Wacky Whiskers. So let's fill that donation bar and get it as high as we can. But anyways, I am Aki, the Anubian Nomad. You guys might know me on social medias as Anubian Nomad or on Twitch as Anubian Nomad. And today we are going to be talking about the difference between a extrovert and introvert and how to make friends inside the furry fandom and things of that nature. But as you guys have probably already guessed, I'm the extrovert of the group. I can talk a little bit. I'm a bit, long-winded sometimes. So my friends will let me know if I speak too much.
I thought that was just because you had short Hopkins syndrome.
Anyways, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Skittle?
Hey everybody, I hope you're all having a fantastic convention. I am AlphaRyu. You guys might know me from my YouTube channel, AlphaRyu, coincidentally. I am one of the introverts of the group. Ginjivitus here is the other introvert, and I think we've got a lot of things to talk about from different perspectives of being an introvert, because being an introvert isn't always the exact same experience for everybody. It can mean different things to different people. And, I really think the combination of my perspective and Ginji's perspective is going to really help shed some light and reach, hopefully, some of you guys, and we can help you overcome your social anxiety and get you to feel a bit more sociable and be a bit more comfortable in public environments. So, yeah, that's me, AlphaRyu, and I will pass over to Ginjivitus to introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. I'm resident internet goblin Ginjivitus. You probably recognize me from such educational films as AlphaRyu's YouTube channel and Aki's Anubian Nomad Twitch channel. I, until quite recently, have always been kind of a background guy. I'm a technical guy. I do a lot of production work. I do editing, things like that. But despite being an introvert, these two have done a pretty effective job dragging me out and putting me in front of a camera. And so now I'm launching my own stuff too. So, we're all having fun together.
Yeah,
hi, everybody.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody.
So,
well,
one of the biggest things of this panel here today is to talk about, what is an introvert, what is an extrovert, how social anxiety builds into that, and sort of things you can do to overcome that social anxiety and help you make some new friends in the furry fandom. So I think one of the good things to do would be to start off by talking about exactly what is an introvert and what is an extrovert. And I'm going to start off by saying there's a big misconception that being an introvert means that you do not like, being out in public, events, being sociable. And that is a big misconception. And don't get me wrong, for some people, for some introverts, that is true. Some introverts just naturally prefer to be on their own and would rather be doing something like watching TV on their own, reading books by themselves. But that's not every introvert. For a lot of people, myself included, I love social events and I love getting to meet new people. What makes me an introvert is I get very nervous around doing that, and I start to get overcome with social anxiety. So I think that's one of the big barriers. If you're comfortable just being on your own, if you're introverted in that way, then that's fine. You don't need to do anything which makes you uncomfortable. But if you really want to push yourself out there, get to meet new people and overcome social anxiety, well, that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today.
And I think that's a really excellent point to think about, is no matter where you are on that social spectrum, it's important for you to try to operate within your comfort zone. If you are trying to meet new people and you are more comfortable in certain situations and you force yourself out of that too quickly, you're probably going to, for lack of a better term, get scared off and retreat back when,
Yep.
reality of it is you just got to learn your comfort zones, operate within them, and maybe every now and again you get a friend like Aki who gets you, nudges you gently outside of your comfort zone enough to meet some new people. But I think that's one of the first big challenges to overcome is learn your comfort zones, and learn how to operate within them.
Okay, do you want to tell us what an extrovert is?
Absolutely. So extroverts pretty much. Now, let me go ahead and say that not all extroverts are the same. It's like with all introverts. It's really just person by person. So, extroverts, a lot of people think extroverts are just happy all the time, jumping around. Hey, how you doing? 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 No, it's not like that. With an extrovert, pretty much an introvert will maybe at a social gathering, I'll use Ryu as an example. If there's a lot of people at a social gathering, Ryu will withdraw himself so he can recharge a little bit. Whereas an extrovert, instead of doing that, they get their energy from the people around them. They like being there, talking to other people, not necessarily being the center of attention per se, but just socializing.
Unless your
and
name's
meeting
Aki.
other people. Yeah, I set you up for that. Anyways, yes. Thanks, Ryu.
It's true.
We'll get to that later. But yeah, so an extrovert, pretty much you get your energy and your excitement from others around you. And we'll dive a little bit more into, how an extrovert greets people versus an introvert and things like that. And we'll really break it down. And maybe you're an extrovert and you have some introverted friends and you really want to try to help them, make some new friends. As an extrovert, and I'm like this, I'll say this for me as an extrovert, sometimes you feel like, oh man, I really need to help my friends, get out of their shell a little bit. But there's a right way to do that and a very, very wrong way to do that. So,
Which I think brings
we'll
up
dive a little bit more into that. Yeah.
I was just going to say I think that's one of those big misconceptions that it's important to break is that the shell isn't necessarily, introverts don't necessarily want their shells broken. I think it's when an extroverts make this mistake a lot, and I think 100% of the time it is coming from really sincere and honest intentions. It's
Yes.
I want to see my friend have more like noticeable exterior fun and maybe make more friends. So, it's coming from a very sincere, kind place. But, I think a common misconception, just like there's a common misconception that extroverts are just happy all the time, I think introverts frequently get misidentified as being sad. I can't say how many times at a party that I've just needed to take 5 minutes, take a step outside, kind of recharge my battery a little bit. And people are immediately, are you okay? Is there something wrong? Like, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. I'm in a great mood. I just need a minute to kind of, recharge.
Yeah, and I'll take it back real quick. And to the extrovert, to them, that's how they get joy and that's how they get energy. So it comes from a good place, but they just might not understand, that an introvert might need some time alone for a second at a party or a get together or something like that. So it all comes from a good place, but it's just the differences between the two. So
And
honestly, please go ahead.
I think on the back of that, I think what would be a good idea is if we maybe give you guys some, for the introverts out there, some maybe advice and tips for, as an introvert, how you can make new friends and maybe push yourself through your social anxiety. And then from there, we can maybe give some of you extroverts some advice for how to help your introverted friends. I think maybe a good way to start with that, because I think it's very good to sort of understand what an introvert is and how introverts can sort of push themselves, not past their comfort zones, but maybe just expand from a bit.
Sure,
So,
certainly.
I'm going to be talking through this list, which, to be quite honest, a lot of it is made up from my own experiences. Now, there's never a right and wrong way, because as we've already said at the start, being an introvert means different things to different people. But this list I have here of the things I want to talk about is a combination of my experiences, and of course, Ginji has contributed.
A lot of overlap.
Yeah. So Ginji has his own experiences as well. So Aki, you can take a small seat for a few moments while me and Ginji talk about what it's like to be an introvert, and then you can basically say to us, well, this is how an extrovert works, and this is what I'm going to do to help you. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those at home can play a fun game and watch how uncomfortable Aki gets the longer he has to be quiet.
That's a good point. Yes.
I tried watching a movie in VR chat with Aki once, and he got so uncomfortable whenever there was silence on the screen. It was absolutely hilarious. But
He vibrated right off his chair.
so, getting on to introverts. So this is my advice for how to make new friends and meet new people. And Gingy, feel free to jump in at any point because you've got your own experiences and you've contributed to this list. So feel free
Certainly.
to take over at any moment. So start off with a nice easy one. When you're going out to events, whether it's in real life or in VR chat, it's great to start with maybe some smaller events to begin with. For example, if you're in VR chat, if you're an introvert and you jump into a world with 40 people in there, for me personally, I would find that very overwhelming and it would put me off of wanting to talk to anybody if it's people I didn't know. But if I went to a smaller world, maybe 10, 15 people, and it was a bit quieter, I'd feel a bit more comfortable going up to people and introducing myself. And the same as in real life. If you're a furry and you're going to a convention, maybe not start out with one of the huge ones with, hundreds and hundreds of people. Maybe start at a small local regional one. A little bit more intimate gives you more chance to get to talk to people. So that would be my
Sure.
advice for, picking your sort of events first and
And
then
if I can
take
add
it
on to
from
that,
there. Hmm.
so I think for some people, even small conventions can be a bit overwhelming. But what I find in my own experience as being an introvert and basically finding my tribe is basically, the unknown is such a big point of social anxiety. So for me, entering into a group of people that I already know I have things in common with, like a furry convention, for example, you already know you've got one, big thing in common with practically everybody you'll meet. I find that mentality is very helpful. So for me, even before a convention, perhaps you go onto like a furry Discord, or not even just furries in general, a Discord that centers around your own interest, then you already know everyone in that room you have something in common with. And I think that eases the anxiety a bit. And if you're nervous about vocal communication, especially on the internet, I think Discord is a great place to start like that because you can work with type. Like you can communicate via text, and most people find that a little more uncomfortable if they're nervous about speaking around others. And slowly, as you start interacting in a community like that, you'll start finding people that you're getting along with, even starting to consider friends. You may be able to interact with them in a voice chat easier. And once you've started gathering that little bubble, suddenly taking that bubble to a convention, into VR chat, into more what I would consider socially intimate situations, suddenly you'll find yourself with a safety net, and that anxiety is going to, not perhaps not go away, but you will have people that will help you through it. And that's one of the things I was meaning earlier about operating within your comfort zone, establishing that comfort zone. And usually once you've found it, you can expand upon it.
I think that is a very good point. There's a lot of people in our Discord, who we talk to, who've told us that they suffer from social anxiety and they found it so difficult to meet new people. But they've came into our Discord, they've maybe lurked around the main chat for a while before, getting their courage to talk up. They've talked up, people have accepted them, that's led to DMs, that's led to friends, that's led to them coming into VR chat where once upon a time they were too anxious and nervous to come into VR chat. So
Absolutely.
doing it through text and Discord is that's a very, very good point. And I did skip that step. I'll admit, but
Yeah.
it was a happy sort of chance meet which got me out of my social anxiety. It was actually Aki. Aki was a big, huge help for me. And I was in VR chat, and I'll be completely honest with you guys. For all of you guys who already know me, you guys know this. Anybody who's meeting us for the first time, this will be completely new to you. But I used to play VR chat, and believe it or not, I used to be that guy who would stay in the corner, not talk to anybody because I was too scared and nervous. I was just terrified to approach anybody, and I've learned how to do that over time, but it's been for the help of this little guy here. But no, one day I was in VR chat. Somebody approached me and we just got chatting. They introduced me to this person. And then when I met Aki, that was it. He was dragging me around all different worlds, not big, huge worlds with a lot of people, just small worlds. got me into a Discord VM, but really introduced me to some people, small amounts of people at a time, and really built it up from there. And it's because of Aki that I was able to learn and overcome my social anxiety to an extent. So I think what
Hmm.
your point there about Discord and community is very important. In my case, it was one particular person started introducing me to community. But for other people out there, it could be a simple case of joining a friendly Discord and just starting to get to know
Sure.
people.
Because then you at least have one thing in common with everybody. And I think without the complete concept of the unknown, like I don't know who this person is, I don't know what they like. Are they mean? Are they a crap person? Or are they short and angry and have fake gold tips on their ears? I won't know until I've gotten to know them. But if we go to a Discord for tiny angry people, and maybe I'm tiny and angry and he's tiny and angry, and we find the tiny angry Discord server, there's a degree of familiarity right from the get-go. We know we have that one critical tiny angry thing in common.
And moving on from there, just quickly, I know there's going to be a lot of people out there watching you are wondering, well, I'm not really wanting to get into Discord. I just want to be able to do things like play VR chat or go to a convention and just meet people, and that's fine. And we've got some tips for you guys as well. And believe it or not, I know this sounds, a little bit cheesy, but it works. Trust me, it works.
It does.
I have learned this tip, and honestly, I use this every time I meet new people. And it's just simply being nice. Before you approach somebody who you want to approach, find at least one good thing you can say about them without talking about them, and give them a compliment.
Absolutely.
In
Yes.
VR chat, it's so easy. I could go up to a key, so assuming I don't know a key, excuse me. Hey, sorry to disturb you. I just really wanted to say I really love your avatar. I love how the gold very much complements the black. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Okay? Nice simple compliment, and that will open up a key to speak about the avatar, which will open up a dialogue, which can lead on to further conversation. It's a nice breaker. It puts somebody else in the mindset of, I've just received a compliment. I like this. I want to talk to this person. And it works in real life too. You go to a convention, you could easily go up and say to somebody, oh, I love your fursuit, or, oh, your accessories you have look very cool. Something visual which you can just instantly give a compliment about. And I think that's a very good technique.
I agree. I actually use that a lot myself. I've met people that I now sincerely consider my friends in VR chat because they just had some kind of wild avatar that caught my eye from across the room. I'm like, hey, I not to be weird because I'm super self-conscious. I'm like, hey, don't mean to be weird. I don't mean to walk up to you, but I love your whole steez, your whole I like your cut,
nice
G.
to me? Oh, you're being nice to me. Look at that. It's a great day.
Yeah,
But
I like your
public,
cut.
you have to be.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. They're watching us. I can't be nasty.
Always
But
watching.
but I agree. It's an excellent way to start, even if you're not wanting to really start a conversation, it's a good way to break yourself out of your own ice, if not break the ice of a conversation. Just like, hey, your avatar is gorgeous. Like I could see you in the dark at a club from across the room. And I just walk up and say it. And more often than not, it'll start a conversation. It'll, for me, like I've been getting into avatar creation for VR chat specifically, and this could be, you could do the same thing, IRL, fursuiters, things like that. You might have a similar interest in the creation process. So suddenly you can be like, wow, I've never seen this avatar before. It's gorgeous. I love it. And you're like, oh yeah, I made it myself. And now suddenly there's an in. Now there's like, me too. I've just been, learning stuff and basically talk shop. And in my experience, despite my social anxiety, if I somehow find a weird little specific niche that I can start talking shop with somebody about, that goes away. Like my social anxiety, I know this is a personal thing and not for everybody, but for me, my social anxiety disappears if I'm distracted by that one weird little obsessive niche that whatever I have that week, whatever I'm hyper focusing on, if I share that with somebody, holy crap, we're friends. We're friends right away.
I think also as well as that's probably my number one tip is to give compliment and start getting a dialogue that way. But as I've already briefly discussed, there is a very good way to meet new people as an introvert, and that is
Mhm.
you don't always have to do everything by yourself. You can rely on an extrovert friend. In my case with Aki, that's happened in VR chat. Now, I have experiences in real life where I've been far too shy, nervous, or anxious to go to events by myself. And I've had extrovert friends who I've brought with me, and they've done what I would class as the hard work for me, but easy work for them. So we go to an event, they get chatting to people, they open up the dialogue, and then they say, "Oh, this is my friend Ryu." That opens me up into the conversation, and then suddenly I'm meeting new people. So the hardest bit is just opening that dialogue for introverts anyway.
Absolutely.
For an extrovert, that's easy. But if you have an extrovert friend, they can do the legwork for you, and then you can sort of just like jump in at a natural point of the conversation and start being part of that dialogue and meet that new people. So that's one of my tips. You don't have to do it alone. You can have an extrovert friend help you. And this guy's been a huge help for me.
Aw, thanks, Reed.
And one thing I do.
It's amazing how great things come in small packages.
Wow, he's being really nice to me today.
Yeah, people are
I
watching
called you
us.
small. Is that being nice?
He's a good dude. But as your point being, introverts being able to utilize extrovert friends, I think another point that I would like to get into is introverts finding other introvert friends, because boy, that helps for different reasons. An extrovert, you could utilize their social skills for your benefit pretty easily, and they'll be happy to do it for you more often than not. But I think there's a certain comfort in finding your tribe. I think this is an example of when one of the first times I realized that, I think me and Ryu are going to be friends, because we got along right away. Aki introduced us and we hit it off pretty well, but it's still like, that's a level. That's just, I think I like this guy. I think me and this guy are going to get along.
There is another perfect example of how an extrovert introduced two people together and now we're friends.
Certainly.
I mean, I would have never came out and just randomly talked to you because I'd have been too shy. But Aki did the hard work.
I would have complimented your avatar, certainly. But my point being, one of the times that I really stopped just thinking, I like Ryu, he seems like a nice guy too, I think me and Ryu are going to be friends, was at a get together. I think it was around one of Aki's streams. It got big, like it got a lot of people. And I kind of needed a moment to like disconnect from the group and recharge. And I found Ryu outside doing the same thing. And there's nothing to apologize for. There's no problems here. But
I just had to take a little stab at Ryu every now and then.
It's a common introvert tactic. Sometimes our social battery is feeling low. But I caught Ryu outside, and I think it was the first time he and I had a like non-topical, non-20 people in the room, like one-on-one conversation. And when I realized we were both doing the same thing, like we both were taking a break from the party. We weren't not okay. We weren't in a bad mood. We were both just needing a minute to, collect ourselves and be a little less overwhelmed by the people. And that was one of the first moments of like, oh, you're like me in that regard, which I think opened up a level of comfort in me that was like, you know what, I think we're probably going to be friends. It was probably the first like in-depth conversation that I think we shared, was because we were both coincidentally taking a break from other people at the same time.
And Ginji, that's a very good segue into my next point, actually. You'd almost think this was scripted. I promise it's not. We're just actually. I promise this is not scripted, but no, it seems to be getting very good segues into each other. No, that's a very good point, actually, is that a lot of introverts, and I was included in this, I'll admit, can often feel like they have to meet other people's expectations of being at the party, having fun, smiling all the time. Listen, guys, if you're an introvert and things are starting to overwhelm you, it's perfectly acceptable and allowed to just take 5-10 minutes, go outside, get some fresh air, go to another part of the VR chat world if you're in VR chat, maybe even go back to your home world and then request an invite again in 5-10 minutes. That's completely fine. And a lot of people feel guilty doing this, thinking that they're going to be judged or people are going to wonder what's wrong? Have we done something? But it's not the case. Trust me. When you come back, somebody might ask, "Oh, are you okay? Where did you go?" You simply say, "I just needed 5 minutes just to recharge. I'm back. All's good." And people
I have
understand. They do
Mhm.
understand. And people think, a lot of introverts think that people won't understand that, but honestly, they do. It's
Oh, yeah. More
okay to
times than
take
not, they
time for
do.
yourself.
I've
Yes.
never met one person. 'Cause I used to make up excuses. I used to pretend to be a smoker. Let that noodle around for a moment. My social anxiety, I was so self conscious about people wondering where I disappeared to. I used to basically tell people, like, oh, I needed to smoke, but I don't smoke. When I started being honest about it, and people say, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" I go, "Oh, I'm fine. I just needed a moment to myself to quiet down a little bit." I have never met a single person who has taken that information poorly or anything else. Like, everybody seems to be fine with that. That social anxiety, that insecurity was 100% self-inflicted. Like,
Yeah.
nobody seemed to give a crap. Everybody was fine with
Because
it.
if you are getting to that point in the event where it's starting to get on top of you and you feel like the social anxiety is starting to crush you, if you push on through that and stay, more often than not, you will end up not enjoying yourself and
Mhm.
you'll end up wishing you weren't there. And I've been there in real life and in VR chat. And trust me, just taking 5-10 minutes for yourself when that pressure starts to build alleviates it and it allows you to get back on with enjoying yourself. You will have a much, much better time if you just take 5-10 minutes, clear your anxiety, and then go back in. Don't
Mhm.
force
Yeah.
yourself to do anything you're not comfortable with, which is very important. You have to operate within your comfort limits, not other people's
Yes.
comfort limits,
Yep.
your comfort limits.
Yes.
So
Well,
I think we've covered some very, very good points about introverts. And we can come back to some more of some sort of smaller general ones. For example, in VR chat, if you're uncomfortable talking, it's perfectly acceptable to not use a mic. There's so
Wonderful
much
point.
other ways to communicate. There's pens in VR chat. You can use those to write. You can use mannerisms. You can be a mime. You can act things out. We've got a number of friends in our community
Mhm.
who
oh, yeah.
don't speak at all on mic unless it's one-on-one with nobody else in the room, and that's fine. When it's a group, some people prefer just to be very vocal with their actions, you know, or
Believe it or
prefer to use
not,
pens to write messages.
my first probably 6 months of VR chat, I played almost entirely silently. I gestured at people, I mimed things, and I still had fun and I still made friends that way. But for me at the time, especially, it was easier. It was less anxiety inducing to not have to speak, to just be in a moment with people and interact with them kind of in big, exaggerated, cartoony ways. But I had fun doing that. They had fun interacting with me, and many of those friends that I made in my early quiet days of VR chat, I still have. And heck, even now to this day, if I'm in a public world, if I just decide I want to go play a game of murder or something like that, and my friends aren't around, I honestly still will frequently play muted. And sometimes my friends will join me and think it's weird, and I have to, like, okay. So it's like I still do that. A lot of
Well,
And that's
people might
perfectly
be
fine.
apprehensive because they think
you-
other people will think it's weird, but there is a huge culture of that in VR chat specifically.
Yes.
I'm going to
This
quickly
VR
stop you
chat
there,
specifically.
Gingy. I could talk about being an introvert and giving advice all day. I honestly could, but I'm just very much aware of the time and the time I have left. So I'd quite like to pass it over to Aki if that's okay, and Aki can talk about being an extrovert and how
Yes,
Yeah.
you did a good
being
job,
an
buddy.
extrovert you can help
Well, thank you.
Kept
introverts.
it together.
And then after that, then we'd like to take some of your guys' questions, if you have
Yeah.
any. But before then, Aki, we've had our introvert say, time for the extrovert.
You
All
did
right.
good, buddy.
Oh, well, thank you, Ginger. So, with extroverts, I really just want to focus on, because it's so easy for an extrovert to, not all extroverts, remember, but I'm just using my personal experience. It's easy for me to just jump right in. Hey, how's it going? Oh man, I love your avatar. That's awesome. Did you make that? It's easy for me to jump in, and I get energy from that because I'm an extrovert. What I really wanted to focus on, though, was any extroverts trying to help an introverted friend. Now, as an extrovert, it should not be your goal to convert an introvert into an extrovert. That is not something you should do, because it might happen or it might not happen. But that's not up to you to decide. So the biggest thing I would say that an extrovert can do to help an introvert is to pay attention to social cues. For example, if you walk up to somebody new, oh, almost crashed there, but I'm good.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So,
Anyways,
Josh, you're only extrovert on staff.
Yeah, we really need you. Please
all
stay.
right, you're the new extrovert, buddy.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, if I go down, it's up to you. Okay, so anyways, paying attention to social cues. So let's say that I didn't know Gingy here, and I'm like, oh, hey, I absolutely love your avatar. Did you make it? So let's say that he's only given me one-word answers. Okay, well, that's fine, but pay attention to that, because it might show that he's not comfortable, and that's okay. As an extrovert, don't get frustrated, because your frustration can show, and it'll make the conversation a whole lot worse, and you probably won't make a friend at the end of the day. So not only social cues not only verbal cues, but physical cues as well. If you approach somebody in VR chat or at a furry con or anything like that, even in the real world, do they take a step back from you? Are they kind of like, withdrawing? Pay attention to things like that, because
I've noticed I do that.
Yes.
If somebody gets too close up to me in real life, not in VR chat, but in real life, and is talking to me very closely, I'll naturally start stepping backwards. And if that person then respects that and just stays where they are and keeps talking, then we'll have a great conversation. If they follow me and come back in closer, all I want to do is escape from that situation at that point.
Yes. And as an extrovert,
right
you don't
now.
mean anything bad by it, but it's just pay attention to social cues, because if you respect others, they will respect you. A hard thing for an extrovert to do, and I'm guilty of this too, is we don't like when a conversation is silent. All of a sudden, we're having a good conversation, and all of a sudden, nobody's saying anything. So if Ryu and I were talking, like, hey, Ryu, how's your day going? Oh, great, Aki, how was your day going? Mine's been good. Silence. To an extrovert, that drives us crazy sometimes. And I know it does, because I'm guilty of it. So as an extrovert, we will try to revive the conversation, and that can be either a bad thing or a good thing. So as an extrovert, sometimes it's best to just stop and think before you speak.
I don't want to interrupt you too much. You've reminded me of something funny. Actually, being an introvert has actually helped me a lot when buying cars. Because when you're sitting there and you're haggling and negotiating, and they're trying to pressure you into signing on the dotted line, and you just stay silent after saying your figure, and if you put the stress on them, that makes them start thinking, okay, I need to lower the price, he's not buying it. An extrovert, yeah, I want the car, let's sign it.
Because a car salesman is probably an extrovert. So here you go. This is also tips how to buy or get a better deal on a car. Not really. But still, it might help. That's a good point.
Apparently it helped. I've never thought about it.
A car salesman is, they're always going to be friendly. Hey, how's it going? Are you looking at this new hot rod? Well, it's got blah, 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 blah. They're probably an extrovert just because that's their job. Yeah, they might want to sell you the car, but they're also trying to be friendly to you and get to know you as well. So, going back, that was really good.
Yeah, that was good.
Anyways, one of the things you can do in VR chat specifically is what I did with Ryu was we hit it off, and we didn't just go into like a giant world full of maximum capacity people that we had no idea who they were. No, it just start out small, and then you can, hey, so-and-so wants to join, that's my friend. Are you okay with that? Always check on your introvert friends before you just add 1,000 people. So if they're okay with it.
That's polite either way.
Yes, it is.
Like, no matter who your friends is polite.
Yes, I mean, either way, it boils down to being kind, being polite, being considerate. Introvert or extrovert. So, and if they're okay with that one friend, there you go. And then if more people want to join and they're more comfortable with that, keep going. But always check on your friend. As an extrovert, one of the worst things you can do, and I believe this is one of the worst things you can do, is, you know, your friend who's an introvert decides to go to a party with you. You go to the party, you're having fun, you're an extrovert, you're having a great time. You lose track of your friend and you get swept away in the moment and your friend's left all by themselves. That is not a good thing to do.
Yep.
Unforgivable.
To an extrovert's credit,
with my drink, all alone.
To an extrovert's credit, we don't tend to do it on purpose. We just get excited. We're getting a energy overload sometimes because that's just how we are. Not all extroverts remember that, but we just get excited. We get lost in the moment. Oh man, I haven't seen you in forever. How have you been? How's the kids? Do you play any video games? What have you been up to lately? Things like that. And so you kind of forget about your friend that you brought there, and that could be a problem. So what Ryu was talking about earlier was, as an extrovert, try to include your introverted friends on the conversation. So, hey, I'm Aki. It's good to meet you. Or, hey, it's good to catch up with you again. Well, I guess you wouldn't have to say your name if you know their friend. But
Hello, friend. It's me, your friend.
Yes, hello, friend. It is me, your friend. No, but hey, it's good to see you again. Hey, have you met Ryu here? He's a really good friend of mine.
It's been such a long time. My name is AlphaRyu. How you doing?
Oh, hey, my name's Ginji AlphaRyu. Is your name AlphaRyu? My name's Ginji.
My name's AlphaRyu. Ginji, is your name Ginji?
My name is Ginji
I
AlphaRyu.
also want to point out that normally introverts don't interrupt extroverts. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah,
That was
but
the point I was going to
extrovert
get
here is
to.
very long-winded. We kind of have to sometimes.
Long-winded? You guys just talked for like 20 minutes.
Hey,
All right, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Ain't no
let's bring
party
it back.
like an
Let's get
introvert
bogged
party.
down on who doesn't shut up and who does. Let's let Aki speak.
Okay. No, but that actually brought up a good point. So let's stop that. Stop that. See what I put up with? This is what I put up with on a daily. Anyways, see, now I lost my train of thought, guys. Thank you. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, so as an extrovert, try to do your best not to interrupt a conversation. So maybe your introverted friend is a little reserved and they're thinking, or they're just being very cautious of their words. They're very shy. Try your best if they're in the mid-sentence and not to interrupt. Now, as an extrovert and having an extroverted brain, we don't do this because we're being rude. We do this because we're excited. We want to add more to the conversation and see if you can relate. So
like little jumpy puppies, like little energetic jumpy puppies. There.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. If we see an area of a conversation where we can stick something in there, then we're going to. But that's not always a good thing because it's going to make the introvert feel like they're not valid enough, or it makes them feel uncomfortable. And that's not a good thing. So as an extrovert, it is good to be a good listener. And on the flip side, you can also teach an introvert as an extrovert that it's okay to talk more. It's okay to speak freely. But they can't do that if you constantly interrupt them. Then they'll just think, oh, well, this Ginji guy just constantly interrupts me. He completely rude. I don't want anything to do with him. So even though these two were interrupting me.
You constantly interrupt us all the time on Amigo, but it's okay because we just know it's you and we don't mind anymore. We accept you.
Even I'm guilty of it sometimes.
We love you, Thickachew.
No, I'm not Thickachew. I'm not Thickachew. For the most part, extroverts, the last thing I really want to say is just be respectful, be kind. And I mean, honestly, that's what it is, no matter extrovert or introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And just remember, if you're trying to help an introverted friend, the biggest piece of advice that I think that helped me, pay attention to social cues. How are they talking to you? Is it one-word sentences? Is the way they said something a little shaky? Are they nervous? Are they scared? And physical cues as well. Did they take a step back from me? Are they kind of like doing one of these? Are they kind of like, I guess, not cradling themselves, but kind of like trying to turn into a ball, I guess is the right way to say it, like scrunching up. Yeah,
Closing yourself off.
Yes, closing themselves off. You know what? It's okay if they're doing that and you know they're uncomfortable. It's okay to just be like, hey, I just want to let you know, speaking as an extrovert, it's okay. I just wanted to let you know, hey, I'm right over here if you want to talk. I would love to get to know you. And there you go. That's all that you need to say, and let them come to you.
And I think that body language is a very good point, because it actually just made me sort of evaluate myself. And I realize as an introvert, I naturally always put up a sort of barrier. For example, this whole panel I've been sitting like this with my hands in front of me, putting that barrier there. If I'm standing talking to somebody in real life, I'm generally, like arms
crossed arms. Yep.
Whereas an extrovert is more like, hands out and a bit more open.
I've been doing this a lot too, to be fair,
encourage
but
people to come in.
I don't have full body, so
I think I'm going. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, on this, as he's discussing advice for extroverts to interact with introverts, I wanted to include for the introverts out there. I think one of the important things for you to keep in mind for your extrovert friends, patience. It's just patience, because they're going to do some things that are probably going to be more stimuli than you want, or
that's a good.
They're going to occasionally become inadvertently grating. You got to have some patience and remember that I guarantee, especially if they're your friend, that is not their intention. They're not trying to get on your nerves. They're not trying to step over your conversation. I mean, I'm just my natural manner of speech. I interrupt my friends a lot, and I am sorry. It's never intentional, but pretty much the same thing as you said it. You feel like there's something you can interject, and sometimes that's hard to keep in. But
and I'm going to interrupt just now, if that's okay.
Please.
Just because I'm very much aware of the time, so we are quickly running out of it. So we are going to open up the floor to some questions. Ginjivitus is going to be taking your questions and passing them over to us. But just before we do that, I want to leave all the introverts with one final piece of advice, and it's probably the most important advice that I've given this whole panel, and that is never be disheartened. Not every social interaction is going to go the way you want. Some are going to be good, some are going to be not so good. Sometimes you're going to feel like maybe you could have done more, and you're going to want to beat yourself up, but don't. Just understand that you are you. Take things at your own pace, and take every interaction as a learning experience. Never beat yourself up about it. Never get disheartened. And don't ever let a bad interaction put you off of continuing to try. And that is my number one advice for any introverted person out there.
And I think that is wonderful advice.
Yeah, that was really good, Ryu.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we ready to take some questions from the amazing furs out there?
Yes, I am trying to get my chat window big enough to where I can see it clearly. My chat window is so tall at this point that it gets a little blurry at the bottom and the top. So I'm trying. Starting with the chat, just taking a moment to say hi. Well, we've had a really engaged chat, and that's pretty exciting. We got Drac is in here, a bunch of our friends. Yasher's here, Jazzrat's here, Pan's here, Savathorn's here. Throw them horns up,
everyone. I would if I could, but as for you, Savathorn.
But yeah, that's wonderful to see, new faces and friends alike. That's fun. So yeah, if anybody has anything on the subject that they want us to talk about, or questions maybe about our experiences from both of these perspectives, let's hear it. Let's talk about it.
And for all you guys out there in chat, just a big, huge thank you for coming out here today. Whether you are old friends of ours or whether you are completely new to who we are, thank you so much for coming out and supporting this amazing convention. The organizers have done so much hard work to bring you guys this convention, and all the money raised is for a good cause. So guys, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for coming to this panel, and I'm looking so forward to your questions, and I'm looking so forward to hopefully getting to meet some of the new faces out there in VR chat. Feel free to come and get to know us.
Absolutely.
If you feel like what we had to say, then where's a dialogue, come and meet us.
Yeah. I think all three of us are quite open to, people in VR chat, especially, to come bug us, come add us to your friends list. Our handles are the same. AlphaRyu in VR chat, Anubian Nomad in VR chat, Ginjivitus spelled incorrectly on purpose in VR chat.
And if you're an introvert and you're a little bit shy, then we're on quite often. We can meet in a small environment, and we do quite a lot of impromptu, sort of just spur of the moment community meetups where it's very, very small. Every so often, I think the last one was Thursday, we'll do a big community meetup where so much people can come along. So honestly, sky's the limit. You want to keep it quiet, we can keep it quiet. You want to go big, we can go big. But yeah, come in.
Absolutely.
We should get to the questions here. We should get to
Shay. Yes, absolutely. Shay is coming in with what's the best way to kind of like feel out if someone is interested in that one niche thing you're interested or not. Like we were saying, I think using Discord or using conventions, I think is a really good bedrock way to start, because if you can find an existing community surrounding this topic of whatever your weird, or weird is a strong word, niche is appropriate. Whatever your niche interest is, if you can find a community centered around it, then that's already ground one. You already know you've got that thing in common with those people. But when just meeting a new friend, I think you can bring up anything you're interested in that's niche conversationally to a stranger or whatnot. I don't think you necessarily need to have pre-existing confirmation that they're going to be into it. You can kind of just judge by, like you were saying, body language and reaction. If I was like, hey Aki, I just got some new experimental resin for a 3D printer and I'm going to make something cool with it, and he's like, yeah, neat boss, and just kind of isn't engaged in the conversation, then he's not being rude. It's just exceptionally niche and full of things that he might not have any experience with. So the conversation, he might be interested in it, but he doesn't have anything to add to it. But when you find a person who is already in on the thing that you're into, you're going to watch them light up. They're going to be a Christmas tree.
Like when talking to Aki, if he brings up this extremely niche retro game that sold 5 copies in 1982, I'm like, cool.
Which I do sometimes.
But if you bring up something new which happened in VR, I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about it. I want to know what's the details. What do you know? When's this happening? And that's how you know somebody's just like, okay, that's cool. They're probably not all that interested. But if people engage after you say something, it probably means they want to know more, and they're very much interested and want to carry on that dialogue.
Curry Sauce is been asking about what our thoughts or notes are on ambiverts, and
ambiverts,
think it's worthy of a conversation.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so for those of y'all that don't know, an ambivert is you have your introverts, you have your extroverts, and then you have your ambiverts, which is pretty much the both. They're just in the middle. A little bit introverted, a little bit extroverted. And honestly,
sometimes situationally.
Okay. Yep, situationally. Absolutely right.
Yeah,
so,
some people get really bottled up and very, internal when they're in a small group or a large group, but you flip the switch. Like if you get me in a room with just a handful of other introverts, I have a hard time shutting up. So I don't identify as an ambivert, but that's generally the core of it. Is some people really do find comfort in both surroundings in different ways, and it manifests, kind of situationally depending on who they're with or the group they're in. I'm far more extroverted when I know everyone in the room. If I'm in a room of 20 friends, then the social anxiety of being around 20 people is all but gone. It's still there, but I'll be far more open and chatty if I'm just like in a room full of people I know, just my buddies,
and I can even say with an ambivert, you could be, let's say you're more extroverted. So you're in the center. You're like, hey, how's it going? Oh, man, I love your avatar. Or, hey, I love your fursuit. Hey, tell me a little bit about your Sona. You're doing your thing. You're having a great time. But as an ambivert, you might also need to take that 5-minute break that an introvert needs to take, because you might be getting drained more than you're getting like just energy from that conversation. So ambiverts, I think I know a few ambiverts. honestly, they're more extroverted, but they do need that small break from time to time. Not saying all ambiverts are like that, but some of them are.
I guess in a way you could probably class myself as ambivert with slight dominance towards the introverted side.
Hmm,
Because
Yeah.
again, it's very it's very based on the situation. If I'm in amongst
Certainly.
new people who I do not yet know if I have anything in common with or not, I've never met these people before, I know nothing about them, I'm still very shy and quiet. But as soon as I'm in a room full of a bunch of friends who I know I have things in common, know them, yeah, I
Mhm.
sometimes have a hard time shutting up as well. As you guys, if you've seen
Yeah, yeah.
the stream highlights I put up, you probably noticed. Why did I put that
Oh
online? Can you tell me?
yeah.
Why did I put that online? But yeah,
For me, and I think this is probably true for possibly you and a lot of other people, I think the social anxiety sometimes comes from the unknown. I don't know how these people will react to me. I don't know how these people will
Yep.
treat me. And if
Yep.
I already have an established connection to these people, those unknowns are gone. I know
what to
how a kid will
expect.
talk to me. I know what to expect. I have an expectation of familiarity, and suddenly I find myself far more comfortable,
No, I would
which
fully agree with you on
allows
there. I would fully
yeah.
agree with you.
Mhm.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, fellas, but maybe we could do 2 or 3 more questions before.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys might
Absolutely.
have noticed each one of us have a tendency to ramble, so I do apologize if we don't get to your question. I apologize, but we'll do our best to get through a couple more questions. And there's always the Discord, and we're always happy to meet up and talk in the chat.
And let me point out, it's not been the extrovert that's been rambling.
That's fair. And
Makes a
I hope
change.
I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. But Kepri Wild, introverted people who have high functioning autism, do you have any advice on that? So speaking from personal experience, I am high functioning autistic. I'm on the spectrum. I think most of the advice still applies. You just have to be a little more aware of your own triggers, and for the autistic side of that, it's not always like a social battery that's getting drained that means I need to go outside and maybe take a moment. Sometimes it's a sensory issue. Sometimes just the sound of too many voices at once will really start affecting me from a sensory input level. The feeling of being crowded, all those can really attribute to some of the sensory issues that people on the autistic spectrum can be sensitive to. I still find taking a social break, going outside, maybe a moment to myself, also does help with that quite a bit. And I can't expect everyone around me to be educated on the subject of autistic triggers and tendencies, because everyone I've ever met on the spectrum, they're on a spectrum. It's none of our triggers are exactly the same. We have a lot of familiarities with each other, but I feel like autism manifests differently for almost everybody I've met who's on the spectrum. So I really have a hard time putting the expectations of what to do and what not to do that will aggravate or cause an issue with my sensory perception on other people. I try to carry that myself. I try to avoid a situation that I feel might aggravate or trigger one of those autistic sensory issues. I have to become a little more hyper aware of that. And if I need to take a break, I do the same thing. I think the same advice regarding body language is still applied. The same advice on taking social breaks is still applied. It just might be a different thing you need to go rest from when you take the autism into specific consideration.
I'd say that was, spot on, Ginjivitus. All right.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't really have anything to answer that question with, but I think you did an amazing job anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm ready for the next question.
Well, thank you. Let's see. Sorry, I was looking at the camera and my own hands and ADDing off. So let me catch up with chat for a moment. Let's see. Not a question. Small tip.
We might have time for 1 or 2 more.
Oh, I think this is a good one. Sorry, buddy. Art Fantasy, I think, has a good one. Have you ever been in a situation to where maybe you have created that opening, like complimented an avatar, whatever, tried to create that conversation, but then struggle to find something to keep going with? Yes, A
Oh, yeah.
lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is where it comes back to don't be disheartened because sometimes it will go well and you
Yeah.
will get a great conversation. Sometimes it won't go so well. So that's why it comes back to don't be disheartened if it doesn't go so
Yeah.
well. Sometimes I'll give a compliment, we'll get a bit of a dialogue, and as soon as we're done
Mhm.
talking about whatever I've complimented, then it's a struggle to find something else to talk about, And
Mhm.
that's just typical. A lot of people open up as soon as you give a compliment and you're interested in them, but as soon as it comes off of them, a lot of people then,
They'll lock
especially
up.
our introverts, will lock up just like how we will. So, you try and move it on, but because it's maybe something which, again, it comes back to finding that common interest. And
Mhm.
sometimes you just can't hit the nail on the head. You can't find the common interest and it becomes a struggle. In which case, I'll be honest, sometimes I'll just say, look, it's been absolutely great talking to you. I just wanted to come up and compliment your avatar. I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Be
Yep.
polite, be friendly, wish them well, walk away, try again.
Yeah,
Don't be
I think the best conversations, and especially conversations that may lead to like a friendship, happen organically. We typically make friends with the people we get along with or have things in common with. And while sometimes finding that entry can be difficult, finding that thing to just give yourself the necessary push to start the conversation, sometimes that can be hard to find. But I think when there's chemistry there, when you start talking to somebody and they light up and maybe they compliment you in return, or maybe you start latching onto a conversation point or a topic, it happens organically, and it doesn't work every time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with mission failed. We'll get them next time, boys.
Yeah, we'll get them next time.
Right. You start a conversation with somebody and it's just not going anywhere. Maybe they're uncomfortable. Maybe you're uncomfortable, maybe neither. And they're just, not interested in the exchange. So it doesn't mean you can't even not try again with the same person. You could overhear them talking in a room later and go, oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but you guys are talking about what's something niche that I'm into. Gunpla. Let's see. Y'all are having a Gunpla conversation. I just picked up the new RG Ava kit. Blah blah blah. Sorry, somebody in chat will get it. Don't correct them. It's fine.
Okay.
But my point being, sometimes you can find another way in. Sometimes you can take it again. Sometimes interjecting yourself or injecting yourself into another conversation can be done so without it being rude. You overhear two people in a public event discussing something that you're into. I think there's a polite way that you can try to battle your social anxiety and allow you to inject yourself into it. Hey, fellas, I don't mean to interrupt you guys. I just couldn't help but overhear you were talking about,
Shinji.
blah, blah, blah.
Yes, Gingy, we hate to interrupt you.
I do mean to interrupt you, so I apologize, but tough. Okay, guys, listen, time is nearly up. So before we finish, I just want to say thank you again so much to every single one of you guys who have came out, who supported the convention, who have supported the charity. Thank you from the very bottom of our hearts. I know the organizers are so grateful to every single one of you guys. Talking of organizers, I've noticed who just came in, they're going to be shooing us off the stage any second now. So before we go, I have been AlphaRyu. I'm AlphaRyu. You can find me on the YouTube channel, AlphaRyu Gaming. Come check us out. We do a lot of fun with some story videos, Omegle, Furries React, and it would be great to see you there. Thank you for coming out, and hopefully I'll get to see you again in the future, and I'll pass over to Aki.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say thank you guys so much at FURSAverance. The staff is just absolutely wonderful, and it has been an absolute honor working with you to get this set up. And I'm looking forward to what other fun events that we have right after this. And we have a really cool event right after this that I'm looking forward to being a part of and just kind of chilling out with you guys, talking, looking at the artist draw. But really, I just wanted to say thank you for having us, and hopefully we were able to maybe teach you something you didn't know. I mean, by no means we're professionals, but we're just telling you what worked for us. But anyways, I'm Aki, the Anubian Nomad. You can catch me on Twitch. And I like to do VR chat things. I have my own little news channel that I do. And we also do a fun history Egyptology lesson on Mondays. So anyways, I'm going to pass it over to our favorite demon. And there you go, Ginjivitus.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. And again, like they've said, a big thank you to the FURSAverance staff. They've treated us really well the entire time. Everybody's been super cool. They even put up like merch of our weird faces. There's buttons of us on the website, and the majority of the proceeds of that go to charity. So that's really cool. If you guys want to do something for a good cause and you feel like putting one of our weird faces on your bags or jackets or clothes,
Weird
then
face.
hey, that's available. The you can find me most frequently on Alpha's channel and playing VR games with a key on his Twitch channel. Or, you know, they've pushed me out from the editing booth and made me start doing weird content. Check out my YouTube channel if you'd like. We've got a few good videos on there and much more weird videos to come on that. So happy to meet everybody. I believe we're going to be doing some hanging out after this. It was nice to meet everybody, and I had fun today.
Yeah, me
Thanks
too.
very much for coming, everybody. And be sure to enjoy the rest of the convention. Take care, everyone, and we will see you later.
Bye.